This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. For over 120 years, the building that currently houses the Dover Public Library has been a fixture here in the community. That fixture, like many other fixtures, needs some tuning up from time to time. In the 80s, we did a renovation and an addition on the building. And Denise LaFrance, our Public Library Director, is here to talk to us about a potential, or not really potential, a renovation we're planning for hopefully late this year, early next year. Denise, welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm right? We're getting ready to do some renovating.
Absolutely.
Tell us about what's driving the renovation. Obviously, the building, as I said, is about 120 years old, and the 80s renovation, I think it's about 40 years old at this point.
Right. I think it was finished in 1988. So that is the last time we've had any major work done to the library. It was built in 1905. A lot of things have changed since then and from 1988. For us, it's been really hard bringing in computers because there's not enough electrical outlets. It's tough to get Wi-Fi through some of our thick walls. Putting Ethernet cables in has been really tough. So we need to bring that kind of infrastructure forward. And also, it's an old building and a lot of problems with ADA compatibility.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know part of the reason for the 1980s edition was to help with that, and to some degree there was the ADA accessible bathroom on the ground floor
and the elevator
went in, but it's meeting a threshold, but it's not really providing a good place for everyone to congregate.
Exactly. So are making some improvements in that with our renovation. And also, the building has a lot of safety issues, so a lot of sightline issues, and we want this to be just a really safe, comfortable space for our community to come and meet. So we're looking to make a lot of changes to make things better.
At the same time, though, we don't want to lose the historic character and nature or the funkiness of the building. It's an iconic structure here in Dover, and we're not looking to turn our back on that.
Absolutely not. I love the building. It's got a lot of problems, but I mean, I just love all the woodwork and the glass cabinets and just the feel of it. And we have so many people that come into our building every day and say, just the feel of it, the smell of it. They love this building. So absolutely not. We don't want to lose that feel, and I think that we're working with an architect that understands that and is willing to work around that. And I don't know how to say, but just it just needs a shine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So recently we had the boiler replaced and the roof was redone a few years ago.
Yes.
So that's really starting the process, but it will all dovetail into this larger project that the architect's now designing.
Exactly. And when we did do the roof, we stayed with we wanted to keep the history of the building. So it is a slate roof. So we think that was important. So I think we were, thinking about the integrity of the building back then when we started. So absolutely, that's important.
What sort of programming changes are you looking at? I know at one point early in the process, we had talked about maybe looking at moving the browsing room downstairs, sort of like I'm just here to grab a book and go. But a big goal was to not have the children's room so far removed from the rest of the library, which it is now. Is that still?
It is going to remain in the same space. I mean, it's such a hard building because it was built in 1905 and it's on some granite, it's got some, as you called it, funkiness. There's a lot of different levels. I think there's six different levels on the bottom floor. So we're working with some real challenges. So the children's room is going to remain down there, but one of the things is it's going to kind of be almost a separate entrance. So if you're coming into the library to go to the children's room, you're going to enter in the children's room. But if you're there to, go to the adult collection, you're not going to go through the children's room. Uh-huh. So I think that kind of increases the safety for the kids of, having their own space and being able to regulate a little bit who's coming into the space.
speaking of the entrance, I know one of the major changes in '88 was adding the addition off the parking lot to create the side entrance, which most people probably use as the main entrance.
60%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the new proposal is to actually formalize that, right, and truly make that the main entrance to the library.
Yeah, so it will be, you will walk in. Plans aren't completely finalized,
Sure.
but as of right now, there's going to be a small addition sort of where our back entrance is now that will house a new elevator, a set of stairs, and bathrooms on all 3 floors. So you will come into the building and have a choice to either go into the children's room, go upstairs, but it will all be there. So there won't be that. Right now we have that very long hallway that takes you into the building. So that will be gone. So hopefully there'll be better sight lines, so you'll go upstairs and then you'll be able to see like where the main desk is.
And I would assume that part of that, too, is to create more of a grandeur, sort of replacing the grandeur that if you came off the Locust Street entrance, you, particularly before the elevator went in, when you came up the grand staircase, probably not building a grand staircase, but creating that unified entryway throughout the building. And one of the things I've heard you talk about is making the meeting space on the 3rd floor much more accessible and having bathrooms right near it as opposed to...
Yes. Handicapped accessible bathrooms. So all of the bathrooms will be handicapped accessible, and there will be 2 on the 3rd floor. And one of the other things that I think is changing is we will have more meeting rooms. We are constantly having to turn people away because we just don't have enough meeting space. I think that's in the city. There's just a real need for that. And so we will still have our lecture hall, which will be slightly smaller because of the need for a hallway. But then there's going to be other spaces that will be for maybe 20 people. And then another one, I think they're thinking between like 14 and 16, so some mid-sized meeting rooms, which will be, I think, very welcome by the community. So,
now, speaking of the community, how much community involvement have you had in the design, or is that coming up with the finalization?
I think that will be coming up. So, right now, we're getting our trustees and our friends of the library involved. And then I would assume maybe summer we would have more of a...
Here's what we're thinking of doing.
Right, yeah. I don't know what that will look like, if that's having the plans up for display and people can make comments, or if we have an actual sort of event where we invite them to do that. That isn't planned yet, but that's coming.
Good. Now, I assume over the past year or so that you've been working with the staff to come up with ideas from a programmatic standpoint and from an operations standpoint.
Yes.
I know one of the things you and I joked about is the staff bathroom, which is about the size of a coffee table, is going away.
Yes.
And so some of those sort of behind-the-scenes things will get improved, which will improve a lot of flow.
Yes, exactly. And right now, staff space is sort of all over the building and tucked in corners. And so we will have more of a central area for that and shared workspace and, definitely better flow through the building.
One of the things that I know got covered up years ago, and I don't think we can bring it forward, but I think it's unique, and then we should talk to the listener about the stacks and the floor underneath the main stacks.
Yes, the glass floor.
The glass floor.
The glass floor, which I don't know when that was covered with carpet, but it is still there. So our main stack space, which back in the day would have been closed stack space, but you would have had to ask for,
Right.
From what I've heard, there was a very stern librarian, and you would ask her for what you needed, and she would go and get the books for you. So very different experience now. But that main stack space, which are staying, by the way, because those are...
integral to the building.
They're actually structural. But there's a glass floor. And so every once in a while, we'll have somebody ask to see it. And you can go up into the basement and look up and see this sort of very thick green glass.
I was going to say, people might have this image in their mind of a clear
No.
piece of ice type of,
No.
It's sort of a tempered sepia tone.
But from what I heard, it was very noisy with
bet.
shoes on it and rolling book carts. So that's why it was covered up. But it is a really unique feature that I love to show people.
So the mezzanine staying as well.
The mezzanine is staying, and because of that obvious ADA problems with that will become our storage space. For right now, we have books that don't fit in our collection upstairs, but they're books we don't want to get rid of, some of the classics. So, and those are in the basement right now. And the basement is going to become open space for the children's room. So the storage books will be up in the mezzanine. And so that is, and will be, where we go and retrieve them for patrons.
Right. This isn't going to be an overnight project.
That would be wonderful if you could arrange that. I would really appreciate it.
No problem. I will snap my fingers and we will get this done over the weekend. You'll go home on a Friday, come back on a Monday, and life will be good.
Okay.
No, seriously, we're looking at almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and we need to be out of the space for a year. So we are currently looking for a place to be for a year. So probably all of 2025 right now. So obviously, we're not taking everything with us.
We're not moving.
We are just going to take a core collection. And, and obviously some of our stacks and basically whatever we can, depending on the size of the space that we find. But we're also, we want to keep all of our programming or as much of our programming going as we can. So we have been talking to various organizations in the community that have a room that perhaps we can use to run some of our programs. We have a lot of story times that are so important, I think. So, and a lot of adult programming in the evening. So if anybody has space that we can use during this time to host a program, just a one-off or something more regular, we would love to hear about it.
And the good thing is you've already been doing some of that with, I know some of your book groups meet in a variety of locations and you've done outreach to seniors to other locations. Not just traditional staying in the library.
Right.
I know you and I joked about reviving the bookmobile type of idea, making a roving library.
Exactly.
Follow us on Facebook. Find out where we are today.
That would be amazing.
But you and I have looked at a couple different options, and I'm sure we'll find something that'll work over the next couple months. And when the time is right, we'll publicize to the public that we're closing on this day, and we are opening in a new location, in a temporary format while we get the building renovation done. I know in late May, the city council put some money towards the architect because we've got some finalization of bid documents we need to do. And then once those are submitted, the plan is to go to the 4 pre-qualified construction management firms and have them give us a guaranteed maximum price, a final price. How nervous are you? How anxious is all of this for you? I know it's not what you want to be doing, right? You want to be dealing with the books.
It's all new to me, and obviously we want to do the best we can for the community with this building because this is going to be what it looks like for years, years to come. So we want to do the best we can with the money we have. So, and I've already said I love that building and I want it to just shine. I want it to look better and be a meeting place for the community.
Well, and I think that it's good to have it being a meeting place, but it really is a focal point of the community. And it's such a place that resonates with people, whether it's because they met someone there or whether it's because they checked out a certain book or they visited the historic room. That's something we've touched on before, that a lot of genealogists come and utilize that resource. Or as you say, from an architectural standpoint, there's so much of the 1900s in that building that it really is a draw.
Yeah, I mean, Dover's very lucky that we're one of the 10 communities that received money from Andrew Carnegie back in the day, and so that it's pretty special.
Yeah. Anything else the listeners should know?
Bear with us for
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of change, I'm sure that there are going to be things that come up that are beyond our control. So we are going to do the best we can to make our collection accessible, to continue our programs, but I'm sure problems will arise. So,
I don't mean this in I hope it happens again standpoint, but I actually think that we're better set up for this because of COVID than we would have been before, because you've already had to do some changing of the way you do service delivery.
No, you're absolutely right, because we are thinking we are going to make use of the model that we used during COVID. So hopefully, even though we're not in our building, we will have access.
Yep.
Hopefully daily access, and be able to, you can sit at home, choose your books on our catalog, put them on hold. We will go retrieve them and then have them available in our temporary space. So, and we know how to do that already.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think it's important for the listener to know, one of the reasons why we want to relocate most of the services is both for their safety. We don't want to have patrons and construction in the same location. It's just not a great idea. But also, we're looking at a month, maybe 2 months of time savings for the total renovation by basically turning the building over to the contractor and letting them do their job. So one of the fun parts has been, not only are we looking for space for the programming, the story times and things like that, but also book delivery. But you also have behind-the-scenes staff, the technical services staff, yourself, other folks that play a role in the library, but maybe aren't seen by someone coming in to check out a book.
Exactly. I don't think that people realize that we have a staff of 26. I mean, there's a lot of part-time people, and that includes library pages and our custodial staff. But it takes a lot of people to run that building and do all the things we do. So, a lot of staff need a place to be to do their job. So, yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing the public process, and I know we've talked, you and I and the city manager, about doing a council presentation once the architect has wrapped up the design phase, and maybe that helps kick off a public feedback session, and we'll have you back on to talk about what the listener can do to help provide feedback.
Sounds great.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Dover has a wealth of history in its over 400 years of existence. Coming up, Mike Gillis is going to share some of that history with us.
On June 23, 1825, Dover received with open arms the nation's guest, the Marquis de Lafayette of France, the last surviving Major General of America's Revolutionary War. Lafayette was nearing the end of a sweeping tour across 24 American states when he visited Dover, where he was welcomed as a hero and with great pomp and circumstance. To many Americans, Lafayette was one of the true heroes of the nation's Revolutionary War, having served at George Washington's side during the brutal winter of 1777 at Valley Forge and on through the battle at Yorktown in 1781. Lafayette was led into Dover as part of a large procession. Along the way, he received a 13-gun salute by the Stratford Guards, stationed on Pine Hill. Homes and buildings along the way were decorated in anticipation of the visit. At the home of John Williams, now known as the Woodman Museum's Hale House, he was joined by some of Dover's dignitaries, including Williams, who was then a state representative. There, he was also greeted by 5 young girls, in white dresses with blue sashes, who sang a well-known song at the time, Welcome Lafayette. From there, the procession moved through Tuttle Square, over the new bridge built by the Dover Manufacturing Company, now known as the Central Avenue Bridge. They circled around Franklin Square, down Main Street, taking in a view of the Dover Landing, and then back down Washington Street. They eventually arrived at the Dover Hotel, where the Honorable William Hale greeted the general and introduced him to the crowd. Lafayette then attended a ceremonial dinner at Town Hall, and later, a party at the home of William Hale. Hale's home, which is still standing on Hale Street next to City Hall, was originally located where the current City Hall now stands. Lafayette stayed in Hale's large guest room on the second floor of the home. Among the many songs and toasts made to the general that evening, Lafayette himself would toast Dover, saying, "To the town of Dover, may this cradle of New Hampshire forever enjoy every sort of agricultural and manufacturing prosperity, the happy result of American independence and Republican freedom." Later that evening, he was invited to breakfast the next morning in South Berwick, which he accepted. Later that year, in September, Lafayette's grand tour of the Republic concluded, and he departed for France aboard the USS Brandywine.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.